So there's really two main qualities to an equity interest that you want to think about when you're allocating interests among your investors or your employees or your co-founders. There's economic interest, which is like who gets the money, who gets the profits, who gets dividends, anything like that. And then there's the management rights, who's actually deciding how this company is going to be run. So just sort of keep that in mind as we go through and talk about some of these other corporate structure matters. So let's talk a little bit about how a C Corp works. I actually see a lot of misconceptions. I have clients coming in and they say things like, you know, I want to have 70%, I want my co-founder to have 30%. And they think about it as sort of a fixed pie. And I just want to sort of like challenge that a little bit and make it really clear exactly how stock is issued and how it's split up among the owners. So first of all, whenever you create a new corporation, you put right on certificate of incorporation that there's going to be X amount of stock that's authorized. What this means is that the corporation can issue, let's say, 1,000 shares. And that's the most it can issue without amending its certificate of incorporation. So when you first create it, there's actually no shares outstanding. It's just sitting there, not owned by anyone, and then you execute a subscription agreement or something like that, and then it's owned. So let's look at this chart and sort of walk through it. Before capitalization, before anything's happened, you have this brand new corporation that's just been formed with the state by filing with the Secretary of State. And there's 1,000 shares that are authorized, and no one owns any of them. And then what we'll do is have a subscription agreement. And that basically says that the founder of the company is going to get X number of shares in exchange for either cash, which goes into the company's sort of bank account or treasury or however you want to think about it, or intellectual property. Again, that becomes the property of the company. And in exchange, they get, let's say, 100 shares. And now they own 100% of the outstanding stock. So in a sense, they have 100%. But in another sense, they only have 10% because there's 90% of it that's still outstanding. And now if they want to give, if the founder wants to give some equity to his co-founder, it doesn't come out of that 100 that he owns. That's another thing that sometimes people think is that, like, well, if I have 100 shares and I want my friend to have 50, then that means that I have to get rid of 50 of mine. It's not true. What you actually do is you issue 50 directly from the corporation's treasury. They're totally newly issued shares. And now there's 100 shares being owned by the founder, 50 owned by the co-founder, and sort of 850 that could still be issued in some other way. And this is really different from a stock sale, which is a totally different process. Under a stock sale, let's say that you had your founder who had 100 shares, the co-founder has however many shares, and employees and consultants have a total of 50 shares. And then an investor comes along and wants to buy it. He's going to buy everybody's shares. So that's all going to get consolidated into a single person now having 300 shares in total. And again, there's still these 700 that could be issued. They probably won't be because now, you know, whoever has it has it. And they're going to do whatever they want with it because they have 100% ownership.
Go back and see that.
Sure.
You say 700, and then what?
Right, so the blue represents the number of shares that are available to be issued fresh from the corporation. And if they're issued, they'll be like brand new shares. In this chart, we have the founder has, I guess, 200 shares, which is this piece, and his co-founder has 100, which is the next piece, and then they've given 50 shares to employees and consultants and other people who've helped them out for equity. And then an investor comes along and says, I want to buy your company. You're not going to give him brand new shares. What he wants is all the shares that people already own. So they all sell their shares, and now there's one investor that owns everything. And again, that's really different from the new shares being issued when you're issuing them to a co-founder, when you're issuing them to employees. Is that clear?